Hey guys, this is Andre Younan from Teamwayfinder, and today we're interviewing Josh Keaton, the voice of Ryu Hayabusa from Ninja Gaiden, Hal Jordan from the Green Lantern animated series, young Hercules from Kingdom Hearts, and his most popular role.
Your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
All right, let's get this interview started. So, Josh, how did you
Yeah.
get voice acting?
I got into voice acting kind of as an outgrowth of an on-camera acting career. I was acting since I was a little kid. I was a child actor. Um, my older sister was in like talent shows and beauty pageants and stuff, and so she got an agent from that, and so she started going out on auditions when she was really young, and I think I was probably like 3 or 4, and I would just tag along on these auditions. And I wasn't there to audition. I was just there because my dad was working all day, and it was my mom that was taking us around, and I couldn't stay at home by myself at 2, obviously. So I would go to these auditions, and so I was at one of these things that she was auditioning for. I don't even remember what it was, and I think it was an Oshkosh commercial. And I was super, super chatty. I would talk to everybody. I thought I was a little adult, and so one of the casting people came out to call in the next person, and she sees me sitting in the waiting room and comes up and starts talking to me. And yeah, I forget. My mom tells me the story that she was talking to me, and she said, "Oh, is this your mom? And what's your dad's name?" And I said my dad's name was Honey, because that's all I'd ever heard my mom call my dad. And they thought it was hilarious, and so they brought me in to audition, even though I wasn't there to audition. And so and I ended up booking this thing, and my sister didn't, and so she probably hated me for a while after that. And that's how I started in the business. And when I was younger, there really weren't a whole lot of voice roles for kids. There are tons of kid roles, but those are usually played by adult women. So every now and then something will come along where they actually want to have an actual kid voice the part. And one of those things that is famous for that is the Peanuts series with Charlie Brown and all that. And so for a while I voiced Linus when I was about 8 years old, I want to say. And that was my first, I want to say that was my first VO gig, period, like at all. And then there were a couple other things that I did. I was in Peter Pan and the Pirates as one of the Lost Boys, and I was in the Back to the Future animated series. And I think all of that came from like my overpronunciation of things, because my dad's an English teacher. I had proper pronunciation drilled into my head from a very young age. And so with the Back to the Future thing specifically, there were a lot of really technical words, a lot of technical jargon, big words that most young kids wouldn't be able to just rattle off, and I was able to do it. And so that's how I did that. And then there was a time for a while that I didn't really work a lot in voiceover. I think it was I was right in the period where they were just hiring adults for that age group, and I did a lot of on camera at the time. And I'd say I started doing VO again probably in my late teens. When I was, I think, yeah, Young Hercules. Young Hercules was the big one for the Disney animated movie. And after that, I got a dedicated voiceover agent, somebody that just handled voiceover, didn't handle anything else. And once you get one of those, then you start having a lot more opportunities. They get a lot more of the auditions than just a regular agent would. And so I just started auditioning for more things, started doing some video games, started doing, I was Spider-Man. And around the same time as the Spider-Man thing happened, there was like a big writer's strike. So a lot of the on-camera roles dried up for a little while. And luckily I managed to get a bunch of really cool roles in voiceover. And so that snowball started rolling. And now it's been about 7 years, I think, that I've been almost exclusively VO. I've done some on-camera stuff here and there, and I'm definitely transitioning a bit back into it because I do miss it. But yeah, I mean, it's been a pretty crazy ride.
So, Josh, you've been playing Spider-Man for quite some time now, from the spectacular Spider-Man cartoon series to Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions, and even playing Spider-Man in one of the most popular fighting games of all time, Marvel vs. Capcom 3. So let me ask you this. How does it feel to play one of the most iconic superheroes of all time that's pretty much been a part of so many people growing up, like part of their childhood? Like, how does that feel?
Oh, it's freaking awesome, and it's a dream come true. I mean, this is my favorite childhood hero. This is, I read comics growing up, and I didn't read a ton of comics. There were maybe 4 or 5 different books that I read pretty consistently. But the one that I always read was Spider-Man, because I was a dork. I was very into science, and I really that whole aspect of Peter's character really resonated with me. Plus the fact that I kind of did lead a double life. I was not a cool kid at school because I was kind of a nerd and I was shorter than everybody, and I wasn't popular. But then I had this whole other life outside of school where I was an actor and I had actor friends, and I didn't have that same person. Well, I wasn't looked at the same way amongst that group of peers, and so, just but the two worlds could never really meet. So I would go and I'd be cool with all my actor friends, and then I'd go and be the guy that got made fun of and pushed around in the locker room in high school. So it was interesting. That's it's a dream come true to be able to play that character and to play it and have so many people like that portrayal of it. Like it's very validating. Because that's the voice I've always heard in my head reading Spidey comics, and I get to share it with everybody. So it's awesome, and I it's definitely a career highlight. But I'd have to say it's my favorite role.
All right, so you've voiced from video games to cartoons, probably even live action. What is your most comfortable form of media to act in?
That's tough to say. I wouldn't say that I have anything that's more comfortable than the other. It's just they're just different skill sets. With on camera, there's a lot more that goes on internally. There's a lot more that goes on with the eyes and the reaction and the physicality. Whereas with voiceover, that physicality has to come across through your voice. So, but there still are a lot of things that are shared between the two. You still have to make character choices. You still have to, know the story. You still have to interact with the other actor. And then even in a situation where you might be in a booth by yourself, you still have to have anything that the other actor would be saying in your imagination. You got to kind of make the choices for both characters, and so that you have something in your head to act against. So, I mean, comfortable wise, I can show up to a session. You know what? I have a vocal booth in my house. I can do a session in my underwear or naked or whatever. So I guess in that sense, VO is definitely more comfortable. There's no makeup, there's no early call times or anything like that. But in terms of it being something that's harder than the other, I'd say they each have their own difficulties and their own benefits and all of that. They're just different.
All right, besides Spider-Man, which you've already like answered, that is your one of your favorite character, probably the most favorite character I've ever played. Has there been other characters you've played throughout voice acting that's giving you like that same like completed feeling, like that same excitement besides just playing Spider-Man?
Oh, absolutely. Hal Jordan was a big transition. It was the first one where I actually had to do more of a manly voice, and that was a lot of fun. And I got to work with such a great cast, and because the crew on the ship was such a small group, it was just four of us. I mean, we really kind of became a family on that show. And I mean that's kind of the way it is everywhere with voiceover. Like you really really love the people that you work with. There's not a lot of ego in the business, and so you really do make friends with these people. I'd say, let's see what else. There was definitely some other ones. There's one that I can't really talk about yet because it's a video game that's coming out later this year, and I've signed away my life. But it's a really really fun character. It's he's like I wouldn't say he's a villain, but he's crazy. And you could either be on his good side or his bad side, but he's definitely kind of whacked out there. And it's been a really fun thing for me to play around with. Let's see what else. There's this one thing that I did on Symbionic Titan where I got to actually sing, and he was like this total like emo douchebag who was he got mad at the character that was joining his band because he made the band too popular and too many people now wanted to come see it, and that was a lot of fun. And then I like because I get to play a lot of heroes and a lot of teen characters. So whenever I get to play something outside of that box where I actually, where I have to do an accent or where I have to just be something that's totally out of the comfort zone, those are always, in some ways, the most rewarding jobs because you get to actually stretch and do stuff that is not in your comfort zone and find out what you're capable of. So, yeah, there's definitely a bunch of cool stuff.
How did it feel like stepping into the booth playing voicing for Spider-Man in Marvel vs. Capcom 3?
In that one, it was cool because I'm a gamer and I love pretty much every genre. But I grew up playing Street Fighter 2 and Mortal Kombat and a lot of these fighting games. And so I was very familiar with the genre, and the thing that I really, really wanted to make sure would come across was Spider-Man is quippy. Spider-Man, one of his traits is that he gets under his opponent's skin because he's a smack talker, and he'll frustrate the hell out of him. And I wanted that to be something that carried over in that game. So there were certain taunts and stuff that I would really try to make sound almost as annoying as possible, because if you spam that move, then you're gonna piss off whoever you're playing, because they're gonna be like, shut up, stop spamming web swing, stop spamming web swing. And like, that was my dream. And then I would also be able to, when I would play against somebody, I would actually be saying that in the voice right next to them, so they'd be hearing it on the screen and right next to them, and it works.
Oh.
Like, it totally would get people off their game because they were hearing these taunts, these annoying, spammy, shut up taunts in stereo, and it was great. So I mean, that was one of that was super super fun to do.
It must be really awesome getting to play yourself as Spider-Man and beating up somebody else and doing the Spider-Man voice right in front of them. I can just imagine how a good feeling that must be.
It totally is. It's extreme. It's the best. But then, the sword cuts the other way too, because like there's some other games that are, much darker that, I may or may not be in, but I don't just play games that I'm in. Like, I play everything. But I'll have friends that are in some of these games, and like they'll play a character that I have to make the decision, am I going to kill this guy or not? And I'm like, but I don't want to kill them. That's my friend. It's tough because they play this stuff so convincingly, and I don't want anything to happen to them. Like, if my friend Jason Marsden played Boone in New Vegas, Fallout New Vegas, and he was one of my favorite companions, because I'm like, it's like I got badass Jason over here with the sniper rifle cutting everybody down, and like if he got shot, I'd be like, Jason, no. But yeah, that's one of the things that's actually really fun about being in the business and being friends with so many of the people in the business is you get to kind of you get a little bit taken out of the game because you know the voice, but then on some other level it just affects the way you play it differently. So it's a different experience.
Do you have any what are some tips you can give for upcoming aspiring voice actors?
Focus on acting, because that is the biggest part of voice acting. It's not so much about making a funny voice or being able to imitate other characters that already exist. It's about acting and reacting. It's about sustaining a character in that voice for hours at a time, and being able to say anything as that character. Really make definitive character choices, and I think that's the thing that you really need to focus on is take acting classes. Don't just think that because you can do a really really good impression of such and such that's all it takes, because it's not. Most people, if they want that voice, they're going to hire that voice, and they're not going to hire somebody that's doing an impression. That being said, work on your impressions, because even if it's a bad impression, it's still a voice. You can tweak it and make it something that is original, that's your own, and always be coming up with new stuff. And cold reading classes are also really important, because you don't really get much time to review a script and go over it. So you need to be able to take that page and look at it once and pretty much immediately come up with something that sounds realized and fully performed. So that would probably be those would probably be the best things. I also like singing. I'm a singer, and I think that's really, it's like yoga for the voice. It keeps your instrument stretched out and in tune, and it's good to have a musical ear for this, because it improves your timing, it improves your pitch, it improves everything. You'll be able to hear accents better. You'll be able to just go different places with your voice than you would if you weren't able to sing, or if you didn't sing. Even if you can't sing, just try it. Yeah, those would probably be what I think are the biggest things.
All right, this has been a really great interview. Do you have any final thoughts?
Yeah, this was a great interview. It was short but sweet.
All right, thank you for coming on the show. It was an honor interviewing you.
Absolutely, man. Anytime.